All right, so I'm here with Jason Steele. We're actually live in the studio, which is it's always fun to do these in person. And Jason came in from out of town. He's there with his family, and we're gonna talk credit cards. So good to see you here, Jason. Thanks for coming in.
Good to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your background in credit cards.
Sure. Well, I used to work in computers and I got kind of bored and I started writing about personal finance and travel. I started my own blog. Nobody read it. But one day I Googled the term paid blogging and I found that there are other people out there actually wanted me to write for their blogs. And very quickly, I went from general personal finance to being a credit card expert. By very quickly, probably by 2011, I was a credit card expert, and one of the cool things was I was the first contributor to the Points Guy back, I think, in 12. And over the years, I've just gotten deeper and deeper knowledge in the area of credit cards. I've written for over 100 outlets. I do consulting with individuals and with companies on either the company's credit card strategy or all the way down to people and small businesses, their personal credit card strategy. And I also produce a conference called CardCon for media and industry in that credit card ecosystem. And we're expanding to cover more areas of personal financial products.
So it sounds like you were a credit card influencer before the term was like even invented.
Yes and no. The interesting thing is, unlike yourself, I'm not a super active social media guy. One of the major card issuers, media relations people call me an influencer of influencers, meaning everyone in the industry knows me. I sometimes try to introduce myself at industry events, and people are like, "Yeah, we know who you are." But nobody recognizes me. As I travel through the airports, it's, oh my gosh, it's Jason Steele. That doesn't happen. But like I said, at industry events, that's kind of what goes on. And so what people have told me is that the real influencers out there will read my work and they'll form their opinions based on what I've kind of my thoughts and analysis.
So before we hit record, we were just riffing on some of the things we're seeing in the industry. And you hit on something that had been on my mind. I'll just kinda start with my personal story. I was looking through my cards. I have too many cards. I think you and I probably roll with fat wallets. And one card that's just been really not working for me, and it's unfortunate because I love the brand, and I love the experience they provide, and it's been overall a good experience with my Amex card. And I have the I've been a platinum and a gold customer. But gold is the one I've been using lately because I haven't been flying as much. I go out to restaurants a fair amount, so, like, gold is kinda working. But it just felt like it's, like, too much to keep up with, like, the Uber thing and the DoorDash thing, and, like, there's all these discounts, and it is good value if you're disciplined around where you use it and how you use it. I just gotten tired of keeping track of it all, and then you put a bigger label on it, you're like, "Oh, that's the whole couponing trend." So tell me about the couponing trend, what's going on there, and, like, um, do you think there's an opportunity for disruptors to play this differently?
Yeah, I mean, couponing or coupon book is kind of the name many people have given to this trend. It's the whole idea is, I don't know if some of you when you were kids maybe you sold the entertainment book to raise money for Little League or something like that. And these cards are going to come with like the Amex Gold. I think comes with something like $6 a month at Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, $6, and they don't market it that way. Of course, they say $72 a year at Dunkin' Donuts, but they obviously want you to go to Dunkin' Donuts every month. Dunkin' Donuts, I'm sure, is happy to market with Amex on that, and it goes on and on. Walmart partners with a platinum card. To talk about mismatch here,
Right.
when you think of a Walmart person, maybe you don't think of them as using a platinum card, and on and on and on. And it's to the point where they love saying, you have all this value of benefits, but the mental toll of trying to keep track of them and extract value from them, it can be pretty challenging. And I think that the card issuer's goal is to get you top of wallet, get you using that all the time, um, lock you into the higher annual fee. Obviously, there's a lot of breakage from people who don't use every credit all the time. But I think consumers are going to quickly overload with this. Just this week, Chase announced all of their United cards. I think four or five of them are now coupon books.
United Card is an example.
Yeah, United Airlines cards, yeah. And, higher annual fees, lots of coupons, and it's, it's earlier we compared to like mosquito bites. Eventually you get enough mosquito bites, you just put your clothes on and run inside and don't want to go to that beach again. And I think that's what happened to you with your Amex.
Yeah.
So card issuers are risking that. And I think there might be a window for card issuers to maybe give a good riff on that, and to say, hey, our competitors want you to, buy into their coupon book strategy, and we're not going to do that. We're going to give you solid value every day from our maybe no annual fee or low annual fee card, rather than giving you all sorts of $5. I mean, you know, $6 at Dunkin' Donuts. Amex Platinum Business gives you $10 a month off of wireless. I mean, it's obviously just a fraction of your wireless bill. Um, and I think consumers will eventually get fed up with that if they're not doing so already.
Right. I mean, and just to add to the story, 'cause, I used to travel a lot for work back, like, 10 years ago, like, across country, New York to SF, back I was, like, on planes all the time, and back then, I was a platinum user, and I remember going to the lounges, and it was a great experience. They weren't overstuffed, I could get a glass of wine, dinner, do a little work before the flight. And then the Chase CSR came out, the Sapphire Reserve came out, obviously with a really good product. And then Amex then responded. They started doing aggressive promos. And then like you could start to see the annual fees start to edge up. They've gradually been increasing, but they've both gone the direction of like to get the value on the annual fee, you have to jump through these hoops and enroll for the thing and remember to do it. And meanwhile, the lounges are getting packed.
Yeah. Well, in some ways, the Sapphire Reserve started coupon booking in a way. It was, I think, when it initially rolled out, it was $450 annual fee, and a $300 travel credit. And that kind of blew my mind. Like, why? It's like, I'll give you $300 and you give me, if you give me 200 back or something like that. It was like, I don't get it. And people I talked to at Chase were like, yeah, that kind of invests people in it. And there was nothing to do. All you had to do was charge $300 worth of anything travel related. It could be bridges and tolls, and you'd get the credit back. There's nothing to register, but it was weird. It was almost like the high annual fee was almost like a status, and those in the know knew that they got most of it back anyway. That since went up to 550. Coupon booking is spreading and spreading. Interestingly, I don't find it spreading as much among credit unions. Um, which, I always talk about card issuers and not banks, because banks, the term excludes credit unions, which are not banks, but are card issuers. And so, PenFed here in Washington, I don't see their products filled with coupon books. And I say that in a complimentary way. They're low or no annual fee and they deliver solid value, and their members, their customers or members are by and large, rave about the products. And so I think you'll find some long-term loyalty, in the companies that don't do the coupon book thing.
Yeah.
I think the coupon book thing might be good for short-term gain, maybe among some of these card issuers.
So when you describe I guess the credit union product, like the no frills, no annual fee, solid value. Like I imagine something like a 2% cashback reward.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that they no frills, but the frills are simpler frills. They're not, they're not going to compete with MX Platinum. They're not trying to. But you might get things like, the TSA pre-check, or you might get a really strong value in terms of cash back, or some kind of travel rewards point currency. Not, I haven't seen any transferable points among the credit unions that transfer to airlines and hotels. But short of that, they can do very strong value, and doesn't take a genius to figure it out, because they do they're doing they're nonprofit, right? They exist for their benefits of their members, whereas the banks, of course, exist for the benefit of their shareholders.
Got it. I want to pause here for a second to tell you about one of our sponsors, Spinwheel. They've built an API that streamlines your lending application form with just 2 fields. When a customer shares just their birth date and phone number, they can go grab all the information needed to pre-fill their application form. So regardless of what channel you play in, you know that the higher the application rate goes, the lower your cost of acquisition becomes, and the more media you can buy to generate growth. Additionally, they can give you real-time verified consumer credit data and seamless payment processing, which can help you serve customers beyond the initial application. To see a demo, go to spinwheel.io or check out the link in the show notes. It'll hook you up straight with their head of growth. I had a founder approach me recently, and he didn't name it the coupon book trend, and I like that label. That's very clear, like what we're talking about. But he basically described that to me. He's like, "Hey, I see Platinum or Amex and Chase are going in this direction with the," and he was like, he kind of had my angle. He's like, "I'm kind of like done with that. Like, I don't have time for this stuff." And his like where his mind was going is, "Hey, I'm kind of interested in doing an anti coupon book." But he doesn't wanna compete on that elite, high spending, high to do like, well-to-do customer. You mentioned kind of the credit union part doesn't really go head to head. What do you think it would look like if I were to launch a fintech product that actually goes against it competes with Platinum or Sapphire Reserve, but wasn't a coupon book? How do you imagine that comes together?
Well, I mean, the coupon book allows you to market a very, very expensive card. We were talking $700 just about, and say, look, here's the value you're getting back. And I imagine, it's not a one-to-one, right? I mean, Amex is, it wouldn't even surprise me if the $6 a month you get from at Dunkin' Donuts on your gold card, that they don't even get anything for. It just brings you in. It's like a coupon. It just draws you into Dunkin' Donuts once a month in theory. Um, but if you got rid of all that, you still have to justify your high annual fee. So how are you going to justify that? One of my ideas that I've been, thinking about for a while is producing, the win-win, the benefit that has high value to the cardholder, but very, very low or no cost to the card issuer, right? Cashback is the opposite of that, right? It's the exact same value to the card issuer as it is to the card holder, but elite status is exemplifies that idea. Generally speaking, if I let you cut in line, it doesn't cost me a dollar. But to you, the customer, if you get to cut in line, that might be very, very valuable to you. So how do you cut in line in a broader sense? Imagine the latest greatest gadget, be it a consumer electronic or even a car that's highly desirable. Imagine if you have access to that a week or two before everyone else, something that's sold out. Imagine if on a local level, and I've talked to credit union people, it's like, your customers really well. Why don't you just partner with a local grocery store, a local something that your customers love, and say, hey, now you have elite status. You can I don't know, get in the amusement park an hour before everyone else. You could get a priority line at checkout in the grocery store. Something that would have super duper value to your members and cost your partner nothing.
Yeah, and you're also driving transaction volume to your merchant part, and that could be a revenue stream as well.
Oh, I mean, I just don't understand. I'm willing to, consult with any card issuer who wants me to go into depth about this, but I don't understand why we haven't seen it yet. I mean, think of, the Apple Card. I think used to be with Barclays, then it went to Goldman Sachs. I never understood why Apple couldn't deliver some incredible value to their super fans. A really cool custom limited edition color on the latest Apple product, or when the new iPhone, whatever 18 comes out, they get it a week or two before everyone else. Oh my God, they would run out of metal trying to print all those cards, which is what happened when the Sapphire Reserve came out.
It's really interesting. Like, you're pushing on status and exclusivity.
And in such a way that it wouldn't cost the card issuer a penny, right? I mean, it wouldn't cost Apple a penny to if they know they're going to sell out of these new phones, why don't they give it to their card holders first? And I'm not talking about Apple. I'm talking in the general sense. If you have fans of your product, um, and they try to do this a little bit. There's like Chase has like and United has like a mileage plus exclusives. I once got to fiddle around in the flight simulators at the flight training center in Denver. As media, people paid a lot of points to fly an actual flight simulator. So they try that a little bit, but I don't see it in any mass marketing sort of way. Like, get this card and you will get this exclusive benefit, not a vague, you'll have early access to the ticket to something or another, but a really exclusive, consistent benefit. You will always get the product before everyone else. You will always get, I don't know, an extra hour of, I don't know, whatever. Heck, if they had I'm from Colorado, I ski a lot. If, say, Vail Resorts, they do the Epic Pass, maybe they come out with a credit card and say, Epic credit card holders can hit the slopes an hour before everyone else, get fresh tracks.
Now you're talking because you
Yeah.
can't buy that.
You can't buy that. I mean, that's Barclays used to have the NFL extra points card, and it's now with, I don't even remember which card issuer, but back when they had it, they sent me, my job's really difficult. They sent me to the Super Bowl. And what was interesting, I mean, I enjoyed watching the game, but what was interesting was talking to some of the other card holders who had been redeeming their points every year to go to the Super Bowl. And it was invaluable, right? You can't just buy tickets to the Super Bowl. You could scalp them for, get them scalped for like $10,000 each. But these people, it was like a family tradition. For one family I met, every year the card holder would take out a different family member to the Super Bowl, and it was just ecstatic. So having these invaluable rewards, things you can't put a price on, are often, maybe not the Super Bowl, but when it comes to elite status or early access or special colors, whatever, that would have no cost to the card issuer. It would be a win-win because, you can't compete. I mean, you can't compete on cash back. Look at this, the US Bank, 4% card. The word is they're quickly, getting rid of their card holders who are, not profitable enough.
I think they're shutting down accounts.
They're shutting down accounts. They're claiming the card holders are using their card, for business purposes. Of course, there's no way for anyone to know
Sure.
why you smoked your card. If I take you out for lunch or if I take my best friend out for lunch, who knows? But I once said at an industry conference, I coined kind of a phrase. I said, gamers, the industry defines people gaming the system as people who aren't sufficiently profitable.
Having been in industry, you're on the right track.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, a 4% card to me, when I saw that, I was like, let's count the seconds to see when this goes away.
I mean, if your rewards is higher than interchange, yeah, you're gonna have a problem there pretty
Right, right. I mean, yeah, you have to have a very high balance of assets with US Bank and their investment branch and all that. And I think they're tightening that restriction a bit. Because people could just move their 401k or some index fund over, and now I have $100,000 balance, and now I'm getting 4% back, and now I'm spending, $200,000 a year on that 4% card, making 8 grand. That would, that occurred to people the moment they saw that offer. Years ago. I mean, I've written about other times where the card issuers had overly generous offers that were clearly unsustainable. I know people who are writers who are like, beg the card issuers, just run it by us. We can quickly see how this will be exploited. But I don't know.
but you hit me up because I wanted a sponsor on the newsletter, to finance content and writing and all this stuff. I mean, you know the business better than I do. And you hit me up with a offer to promote CardCon. So tell us about the conference. Like you mentioned it earlier, so give us a little bit more color. What are you up to
I mean, I love this quote from George Lucas, who said, I created Star Wars because I wanted to watch this movie and no one had made it. Well, back in 2016, 17, I wanted to go to a conference with other credit card nerds like myself who write about credit cards for a living and invite people in the industry, but no one had made that conference before. So I decided to create that conference. And at first, we were partnered with FinCon, which is the Financial Bloggers Conference. And I felt like we needed more than just, a presentation for us credit card people. So we had a day, it later expanded to two. And that was our first one was in 17. Hard to believe that's what, 8 or 9 years ago. And we're going to be in Deerfield Beach, just outside of Fort Lauderdale, May 6th through 8th this year. And we're going to have all the major affiliate marketing companies. Many of them are sponsors: CJ, Impact, Rakuten, Bulldog, Quinn Street. A lot of major card issuers most of the major card issuers will be there. Many of them will be sponsors. We're going to have lots of writers. Like myself, I've written, like I said, for over 100 outlets. We'll have lots of freelancers there. Capital One is sponsoring freelance attendees. They can actually attend for free. I have a soft spot for my fellow freelancers. Um, and we'll talk about credit cards, other consumer financial products, affiliate marketing of consumer financial products, and a bit about consumer credit. It's also a very, very fun conference, and I don't hide that. And that day one we call the fun day. And our friends around the corner here at PenFed are cool enough to sponsor the fun day, which will include a beach party and some local, trips to local sites, a really great lunch, all included with CardCon. Also, we have a lot of networking there. I do half-hour breaks, an hour and a half for lunch. We have, I think that it looks like there's going to be happy hours by the pool on Wednesday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Wednesday, as the conference gets going. So people have a good time. People do a lot of networking, and we have a lot of great presentations.
Cool. And you'll personally be there.
Of course, I'll be there
May 6th through May 8th.
May 6th through May 8th. It's at the Doubletree Deerfield Beach, which is 20, 30 minutes north of the Fort Lauderdale Airport or south of the West Palm Beach Airport.
Cool. And I'm likely to be there as well. So thank you for your gracious invitation. And if I do attend, I'll be on one of the panels. And of course, it's going to be about affiliate marketing, which is
Absolutely. And that's really what's grown over the years. I think when I first started, we had about two-thirds media and about one-third industry. And by industry, I mean affiliate marketing, card issuers, fintechs. And now it's probably the other way around. It's probably about two-thirds affiliate marketing, one-third content creators. And even among the content creators, we get probably a little bit more towards the affiliate marketing managers for many of these publishers.
cool. And for Toaster subscribers, listeners of the show, punch in this Toaster. TOASTER. Jason's going to hook you up with $50 off the pass, and that helps support this podcast and all the
And
content.
we should probably tell them where to do this. It's at cardconexpo.com.
There you go. This is a quick plug here for my marketing agency. It's called New Market Growth. We do nothing but help fintech lenders accelerate their growth in affiliate marketing channels. Our services are both strategic and operational. And if you want to learn more about how we can help you, find us at newmarketgrowth.com or email me directly at carlos@newmarketgrowth.com. Let's change gears a little on how people shop for cards. So I wrote a post on LinkedIn. This was probably 3-4 weeks ago. I basically said, look, publishers in general, mainstream media coming down, like trust levels have been dropping. You look at the election, it's very obvious. Like, podcasters had more influence than like CNN, right? People are starting to question the motives behind traditional media. Who's in their pockets? There's all sorts of problems with traditional media. At the same time, you see like the Google algorithms change with AI, and okay, all backdrop to say, I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years you have people, instead of going to NerdWallet or Bankrate or any number of financial publishers, call them traditional media if you want in this context. Instead, they're going to an influencer. They're going to go to Vivian, my rich BFF, your rich BFF. She's got millions of followers. She's got a podcast. If I was an issuer, I would start to look at influencer as something that probably doesn't matter all that much today. But if I don't keep my eye on it and I don't pay attention, could really disrupt these traditional influencer or these traditional affiliates in card. And I want you to beat that up because like you're closer to the consumer than I am. What's your take on that?
Well, on one hand, Vivian, my BFF, could be essentially the next generation of Brian Kelly, the points guy or the original points guy, who I credit with making points and miles and frankly credit cards cool and popular and fun, in a way they weren't 10, 12 years ago. And so she's of course doing it in different media, or she's at least, best known for social media, whereas a lot of these other outlets, publishers we're talking about, are more in that written form, or that's where they have the most exposure. That's one thing. The other thing though is I suppose there's younger people are watching TikTok and signing up for credit cards based on what they see on TikTok. It's interesting. It's not very analytical of them, and I think as people get older, they probably are a bit more analytical. But I think there's also a lot of peer influence on credit card decisions, the same way I think people might buy a new car or new clothes based on what they see their friends purchasing, and not in a bad way. It's like, hey, I enjoy this car. I mean, I'm driving the same car now that my best friend is driving because he bought it and he liked it. And after I drove it, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll get this. The same thing too, right? I mean, I have a credit card. Obviously, my friends know that this is what I do for a living, and they ask me what card should I get. Lo and behold, a lot of them have this. I ran into some friends at the Capital One Lounge in Denver, and I realized, oh yeah, I'm the one who told them to get the Capital One Venture X. That's why they're there. It's not a coincidence. so, so I think you have this, and when you have an appropriately named BFF, if you have a social media influencer, for lack of a better term, that says, hey, I got this card, I like this card, maybe you should consider it, people will. And that there's nothing wrong with that, I suppose. And I think, and some of the purchases that we make, we get analytical, right? We look and we say, well, this I want to buy a new grill. I love to make a big smoked brisket. And right now I'm researching it and I'm saying, well, this kind of smoker is good here. This one does a different way, and all that stuff. I'm not really looking at influencers, but maybe if I was following a certain chef, maybe I would buy the one that they recommend. Um, but one of the interesting ideas you brought up was the idea of bots.
Yeah, I actually wanna connect it
Yeah,
to the influencer here for a
yeah.
second. Although I do think it's maybe another thread.
Sure, sure.
But let's say Vivian had an app,
Mhm,
okay? You've already bought it, you trust her, you listen to her advice, you read her
mhm,
books, you watch her YouTubes every day. You're already budgeting with her and you're kind of following her playbook.
mhm.
And she's like, okay, let's go with your analytical. By the way, I think there's plenty of non-analytical people where Vivian's just like, hey, I love to rock my Amex Gold, and people are just
Well, yeah, I told my friend to get the
yeah,
Venture X, they got
yeah,
the Venture X.
yeah.
How was analytical for them? So to say,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think some people might go analytical by proxy, but she might have people in her audience that actually want their research done,
Mhm,
but they don't want to do it. And what if Vivian said, you know what? Here's a little Plaid integration. And like it still feels like she's the one having a dialogue. AI can enable this, by the way.
mhm.
It can feel like Vivian's having a one-to-one dialogue with that person. Hey, show me your transactions. Boom, download their bank, credit card transactions, and then Vivian runs her bot, runs the math, and says, "Look, top three options for you on this card. You're gonna make this much money per year. On this one, this. All the math's done. You didn't have to lift a finger. All you just had to do is like trust her with to give her a little bit of that. Do you see a future in any?
Well, I have a little joke, tongue in cheek expression around my house is Jason's rule says that if I think of a great idea, the likelihood is someone else thought of it first. So I'm pretty sure this exists already. And certainly people have been doing this in a less AI sort of way where they kind of, tell me how much you spend on these kind of things. I do this in a very manual way where I consult with individuals, and, they show me their credit cards and their hopes and dreams, of travel rewards, and I come up with a plan to get them there. And it's very, very personal. And the example I like to give is, someone who lives on the north side of Houston needs a different credit card than someone who lives on the south side of Houston. Why? Because Southwest Airlines flies out of Hobby Airport on the south side, and United flies out of George Bush Airport on the north side. Right. So I've always been a little skeptical of this AI stuff, or I shouldn't even say AI, but like a fintech solution to uh, to a very, very nuanced problem. Years and years ago, I was asked to write a review on a product. I don't even remember the name of it anymore. That won the Shark Tank thing, and it was supposed to automate all of your credit card rewards, and it was a laughable joke. I mean, I punched it in and couldn't even figure out basic stuff. And I wrote in this review that I wrote up for the Points Guys website. I said, if someone came out with an app that said I'm going to replace your doctor, we'd all go running and screaming, right? On the other hand, if you make it narrower and you say, instead of replacing your doctor, I'm going to create an app that diagnoses whether or not you have a particular disease. That's pretty doable. But I'm not going to use an app to replace my doctor. Although, same idea. I mean, I'm not sure if we're going to have an AI that's going to say, Carlos, this is the credit card for you, based on all your spending habits, because it doesn't take into account what your goal is, right? Your goal might be to take your family to Europe next summer. My goal might be to take myself down to Mexico over Christmas, and we're going to do different credit card. You live in I don't even know which airport you're closest to here in DC of the three airports. That's going to affect.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine. I agree. By the way, But I would imagine that conversation plays out in like a chat GPT type interface. I asked the bot, "Hey, go find me the best card." And they're like, "Cool, I have 3 questions for you." Boom, boom, boom. I answer, and it comes back and it gives me the pros and cons, and it's like,
Well, let's assume that's possible. The question then becomes, do consumers want that? Do consumers trust that? Now, of course, when you Google something today, the first thing you get is an AI summary. I first started reading those summaries and I quickly got pretty disillusioned. And now I just skip past it.
yeah,
We've all heard of I think we've all heard of the, the AI that told people to eat rocks because they're nutritious.
yeah,
I see the equivalent of that
yeah.
in some of these AI summaries. But let's get past that. Maybe I'm just going off of what my friends are doing. Maybe I'm doing my own analytical research. Um, and yeah, maybe some of the people are just going to be like, and maybe to some extent we do that, right? I mean, when I'm buying a gadget or a widget or something that I'm not familiar with, I'll Google it, of course, um, and I will synthesize the results in my head and choose the best one. Is that similar to a bot? In some ways, it's almost like a hybrid.
I mean, you hit it on one of the reasons I'm bullish on this guy. You said the word trust, okay? And I look at a Bankrate, a NerdWallet, all the site, even the points guy. Maybe the points guy's a little different because you used to have an individual that you could there was a personification there.
Right, and Brian is very, very clear that he is the founder of the website, The Points Guy.
Correct.
He is not the Points Guy,
Correct.
but still most people don't get that.
Let's pick on NerdWallet maybe
Yeah,
or
okay.
Bankrate, okay? Faceless entity. I as far like, I don't know who runs it. It's just a logo. I see their ads, like SEC logo, fine, but it's a faceless entity. Why should I trust and I have to imagine consumers view their content of at least influenced by money.
Mhm.
They have to realize they're not doing this out of the goodness of their heart, writing all these articles. They have a real business pushing credit card, right? Contrast that with Vivian. You go back to the bot. If Vivian's like, "Hey, look, you know my ethos, you know how I make decisions." The bot that will shop for you is programmed with my ethos and my decision making.
And it lives up to that, and great for her. I mean, one of my favorite people in the industry is a guy named Clark Howard. I don't know if you've heard of him. Well, I grew up watching him on TV. He was the consumer reporter who was always looking for great deals on stuff. It kind of reminds me a lot of the people in my family, myself included, that they're always just excited when they see a great deal. But I've also heard him speak, and I've actually got a chance to work with him and consult with his company. And he believes in total trust. Like he will not take a penny from anyone to endorse anything and give his opinion on anything. And he believes his most valuable asset is the trust that his viewers, his followers. He used to have a nationally syndicated radio show. He's largely retired now, but he was like, that's my most valuable asset above all else. And the people who follow him, a lot of them in the Atlanta area, but when he was nationally syndicated, a lot of them from outside there, yeah, they would listen to him, and he was dead serious about that too. And I frankly, I'm not too familiar with Vivian, but if and I think we're just kind of using her as an avatar for it for influencers. But once those influencers start to lose that trust, it's a very slippery slope. And if they're delegating their opinion to an AI bot, you better be darn sure it's not telling you to eat rocks.
Right.
You know,
No, but assuming it can be implemented with her philosophy and her ethos, I just feel like that could be more powerful than a listing page with the top 10.
can I think the hybrid model, so often in technology and history, we see an initial panic that new technology replaces humans. And then what actually occurs is humans and technology do the better than humans alone or technology alone. So I think if I have that AI and I synthesize that with a human element, either my personal judgment or the influencer's judgment, that's how we come to an optimal answer.
Yeah.
If I put my blind trust in the robot, I'm I'm pretty hesitant to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. What I'm imagining, like you've pieced together kind of the role you play for folks that come to you
Mhm.
for advice. You know the industry well, you have all the data. They came to you for a reason. That to me is more powerful than I ran a Google search and I jumped into a top 10 cards and I'm reading pros and cons. Like, I think that endorsement that would come from you, whether it's accelerated with AI and done at scale, question mark, right? Whether or not you believe that's possible, who know I believe it's possible.
Right.
Um, but whether or not you believe that, I believe that model is a more powerful way to influence choice and decision making than a static page with a bunch of
I mean, I think it can be, yeah. If it's implemented correctly, if it has the credibility, if I think it blends the human and the, um, the machine element a little bit. Uh, when I'm in a real hurry, like I'm sitting in front of a microphone, so let's say I need to buy a microphone tomorrow. Um, I'm not going to spend hours and hours researching it. I'm going to Google it, go find a quick article that says this is the best microphone for a podcast. I'll pull the trigger and move on. Will people do that with their financial products? To some extent, they might. Um, will people use AI to do that? Yeah, I think that could have a role. Will I, let's talk about something a little bit bigger than a microphone, like a credit card, or what if I need a mortgage or some other more significant financial product? Maybe I don't know. Maybe I will use AI to say, hey, what's the best mortgage for me? These are my parameters, but I have to believe that it's really truly considering everything, and it's not introducing, some kind of algorithmic bias to favor the product that gets, of course, the website or whoever's running the ad bot the biggest commission.
how much do consumers worry about whether content is "bought," quote unquote?
Oh, they worry tremendously.
How do they filter and assess whether they think it's genuine or paid by some?
It's hard. I mean, first of all, let me share a little story. I mean, from time to time, people, a lot of the websites I write for don't have comments anymore, but people will write in the comments, well, obviously, company X paid Jason to write this. And I will say, with all honesty, you know, of all the 100 outlets I've ever written for, I can't recall a single outlet that has ever said, Jason, I want you to review these two products and make sure product A comes out better than product B, or give this product a review and make it look really, really good. No one has ever done that. In fact, often the card issuers will be very, very clear that me as a freelance writer is not to be influenced in any way by any kind of commission structure or any relationship they have with any card issuer. Uh, but in the popular mind, that's happening. Um, and I mean, some people have gotten offended or insulted, dude, I'm not in whatever the company's pocket. I mean, I get paid the money to write this article no matter what I write. The closest thing to influence is they're telling me which articles to write about. Like, don't write, I don't want to accept your pitch regarding this card issuer because there's no affiliate relationship there. So that's kind of before you even read the article. But once I write the article, there's no so people are already skeptical. And one of my counters as someone who's written thousands of articles is I never write anything purely positive or purely negative. I always try to include a little bit of both whenever I'm writing about anything. So there's healthy skepticism there. Every article has a disclaimer that says we get a commission from such and such. It's challenging from an ethics standpoint to I mean, it's at least the editors, right? I mean, I've had I've written articles about cards that the editors had no affiliate relationship with.
Let's keep riffing here on content here, content strategies for a second. How would you advise a marketing team at a credit card issuer if they're gonna go write their own content and they're gonna distribute it in their social media or with partners like NerdWallet or what have you? Like, how would you advise they approach their content? And so that again, with the goal of educating the consumer and
A couple of things you mentioned here. One would be their own content. I would, and there's a little bit of conflict here, but I would advise, and I have advised card issuers to try to help their card holders get the most possible value out of their product. And I'll give you an example. I mean, the thing I love most about Travel Rewards credit card is transfer partners. I do this almost feels like sometimes every day. Yesterday I transferred a whole bunch of points to a hotel program and I booked a hotel. Then I transferred some points to an airline program. I booked a flight. The card issuers, by and large, don't teach you how to do that. And the reason is probably because they get less value out of that than if you resume it per point 0.8 cents each towards Amazon. Um, but I think they'd be better off doing that. I think, having card holders be rating fans because they got some business class ticket to somewhere or whatever, where they got great value out of it. Um, so they don't do that. So educating their consumers to get the most value out of their cards.
I wanna hit the a different way. It's a I like where you're going with it. Having worked at a credit card issuer, I can tell you there's a lot of on the margin decision making.
Mhm.
Meaning I'm kinda looking at things very I'm an analyst, and I'm saying, "Well, you hit a perfect example. If consumer redeems in bucket 1 instead of bucket 2, I make more money because my cost of redemption is lower." Like, I know they think that way. What you're pushing on is saying, "Okay, on the margin, sure, that's fine, but think of the bigger picture here, guys. You want your customers to be huge fans of this product. So, yes, it might cost you a little more if they redeem over here instead of over there,
Yeah.
but they may go tell their friend, they may go tell their boss, they may go tell their nanny, whoever, right? And now you've just generated a new consumer for free."
The big flashing lights on the slot machine when someone hits the jackpot, right? When I was a kid, they use coins, they ding, 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 and everyone would look around, oh my gosh, someone hit it big. Uh, and you want that, right? I mean, that's what like a lot of these influencers are, when they film them, shoot themselves holding a champagne glass in Emirates first class or whatever. It's like, hey, you could do this. So some of those success stories, some of those, I think that's how I would market it. Uh, but when it comes to like, nerd wallets and um, other publishers, um, I mean, I don't see too much like sponsored content. So it's not like they're paying them to write the content. But to the extent I work with a lot of media relations people at these card issuers, to the extent they can do something, look, I'm biased, treat the media to something on the inside, introduce them to card holders that are really hitting it big, give them a behind the scenes look, give them something really great to write about rather than company releases new product,
Yeah.
which is, nothing my editors normally want to, it has to be part of a trend. But if I could give them some inside information, wow, this is a really cool thing that most people don't know. That's what my editors want. That's what I want to write. And ultimately, if a card holder comes to me, I mean, they always think their press releases are amazing, uh, but if it truly is amazing, it truly is interesting, um, then then I want to write about it. Then I want to pitch it.
If you want to support the show, the number one thing you can do is go to thefreetoaster.com and sign up for our newsletter. You're going to get a couple pieces per week of news, information, insights, and podcasts like the one you're listening to right now at the intersection of marketing, lending, and technology. That's our niche. We don't plan to go outside of that. It's the only publication I've seen out there on the internet that dials into this zone. So if you want to support us, sign up and share it in your favorite Slack channel. When we were debriefing and before the show, you mentioned word of mouth is like a very powerful channel for cards. What makes people want to share with their friend a recommendation about a card product?
Let's call it selfishness, frankly. I get a big referral bonus for getting my friend to hook up. I mean, almost at a certain point, it's like a multi-level marketing scheme, right? I'm sure we've all had that terrible experience where a friend of them tells them about this great new company and product that they have to be a part of. It's like, oh my gosh, you just had sucked in. Um, and but yeah, if I get 20, 30,000 points for having you sign up for my card, that's great. But also, if I just got free hotel stay or free business class airfare, if I'm truly, or I went to this great lounge, if I'm truly getting great value out of it, I will share it with my friends, even if I don't get a kickback. And so having these wow experiences, lounges are kind of blowing up. I've read a lot of mainstream media reports. The Atlantic had an article about it. I think New York Times did. How big of a deal lounges are these days. But lounges are big. This gets back to that award travel redemption thing. When people get outsized value and they brag to their friends, they post it on their social. I'm at this great resort and oh my gosh, it didn't cost me anything. That's how I make a lot of my clients is they hear that, I mean, I've traveled for free all over the country all the time, all over the world. And people want in.
One other thing related to word of mouth. I heard this through a friend in the industry. I'm curious what your take is. But these very heavy metal cards, like the platinum, for example, and I see more and more of them now. And there's probably like 3 in my wallet that have this very heavy metallic form factor. I am hearing that they have more top of wallet propensity, i.e., more spend rolls through these than the old legacy plat. Are you hearing anything on plat?
I mean, this is truly amazing because I mean, I don't have statistics on it, but you go back 10 years almost to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and they were literally running out of metal. And I've spoken to the people who make these cards, and I even have maybe a little bit of a business card. I wish I had one to show you. I have a metal business card actually. That and some people love them. I mean, people who've never had one before, like, oh my gosh, this feels so cool. So most of your credit cards, or a large percentage of your credit cards, let's say, are made in Denver, at a factory, and I've been to the factory.
So plastic and metal alike, both types? Okay, the plastic ones.
And when I went there the first time, they were like, "Yeah, we're not gonna be doing this for very long." Obviously, no one's gonna be using paper, or like plastic credit cards or metal card. It's all gonna be on your phone. But we're milking it for what it's worth, and we're trying to get to the future and doing more of the data side of things, rather than the physical side of things. Um, and at the time, I was a little skeptical. I was like, yeah, I think people still want a physical artifact in their hand. And they made me up some beautiful plastic business cards.
I've not seen them.
Oh yeah, well, this is one of my hallmarks, like you might say, be at conventions where I start handing out plastic business cards that look like credit cards, and within a few hours, everyone's coming up to me and saying, "Oh my gosh, I saw your business card." So I ordered plastic business cards from a company. I don't know, 200-300 bucks for 500.
That's not so bad.
No, I mean, are you kidding? When everyone at the conference is talking about it, it was great. Yeah, so business cards that look like a credit card is my thing. And every year for my conference, I make a different business card, credit card with some scene from the city it's going to be in.
You intro me to your provider?
I can, but now you're going to steal my shtick.
Well, I could do a different play on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you Google plastic business cards, you'll probably come up with something. But these are the thing companies that make the hotel key cards and gift cards and others. So, but getting well, the two things: one, getting the metal card, and two, getting the one that CPI Card Group in Denver made for me actually had a chip in it, a real chip. And of course, the first question I get is, "Was there money on that? Can I spend it?" I'm like, "I don't know.
Oh, that'll
I,
be
I, I presume it's blank." But yeah. So, or people hand it back to me and says, "No, I wanted your business card." So, anyway, some metal cards. Some people love them. I think the three cards I have in my wallet right now, or two or three, are metal.
But do you think people spend more on them?
Oh God, no, I doubt that.
Because they're expensive to produce, and if a bank's considering doing it, they need to be able to justify it.
Well, yeah, yeah. You'll typically get them premium cards, but there are some no fee cards that are metal now.
I guess the question is it worth it? Like, should they be doing
The
it?
card is sure be worth it. Um, to the extent that their data shows that people like metal cards, but are people?
Are people spending more on a metal
Boy,
card?
I mean, I can't think of a worse reason to get a credit card than you like the way it looks. I mean, for me, it's all pragmatic, right?
Yeah.
If my favorite credit card was made out of dull plastic, I would still use it all the time. And if the worst credit card in the world looked like, was made out of diamond, I probably would not get it.
Yeah.
I really not invested in what the cashier thinks of me. So here we are in the Venture X studio, probably a mile or two from Capital One.
Yeah.
You said you used to work for them?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So I once found out, how the Saver card is bright orange. Okay. Maybe you probably know the answer. Why is it bright orange?
I actually don't know the
The guy, I forget his name, the guy who kind of was the product manager behind that, told me why. He says, well, you go out with your Sapphire Reserve and you put it in, you get the check, you put it down, you sign the check, you continue your conversation with your friends, and you walk away. Because the black card in a dark room on a black folio. The solution? A bright orange card. And it just
Oh, it pops off.
right. You're not going to leave it in that black, usually Amex branded folio, because it's bright orange. I can't remember how many Sapphire Reserves I've left all over the country. My card number changes every year because I lose one.
I've never had the problem, but no, like, I guess the thing I was thinking is when you're a group of friends, whatever, you're gonna treat, there's an extra little status you earn when your card also looks kinda badass.
Especially if you have dinner with me, and you know that I'm a credit card expert.
So I actually think there's something to the argument with the metal card, but, appreciate your take on.
I can't imagine spending more just because. I mean, obviously, people spend more with a credit card. It lubricates the transaction, but does the physical composition of the credit card affect that? I can't imagine. Well, maybe there's data on that.
It's when I'm choosing between 2.
Oh, you want to show? I see. Yeah.
'Cause I have 3 cards in my wallet and I'm about to pay for dinner, but which one am I gonna pop on the table?
Gosh, I'm sure there's a card issuer that has migrated to metal, and they could probably have data like an A/B test. I got that Mesa card, the one that gives you points based on the size of your mortgage payment, and they sent me a plastic card pretty quickly, and then they recently sent me an email saying your metal card is on the way. So they clearly must feel that the plastic card is insufficient and the metal card is coming.
Here's the experiment. If you're an issuer, here's what I would do. I would go find folks in your portfolio that have a propensity to spend that's quite high because you see it on other cards. For some reason, it's not showing up on your card.
They're socked over your card.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. Call them inactives, call them what you will, but they're below potential. And you split the group in half or into chunks. It's randomized,
Right.
and you proactively mail some of them the metal. Just like when you reissue, you have to reissue anyways, right? So when you reissue half of them on the what they have, the other half on metal, and just start to just observe what happens.
Yeah.
That might be a clean way to see to get at it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they could generate that data, that real world data, not survey data, if they wanted to. I mean, that's something I always wanted to hear as a journalist, and no one really ever wanted to give me was real world cardholder data. I mean, obviously, if they say, 30% of our cardholders do this and 70% do that, not like a survey.
Right. Yeah, what people say and what people do are very
Yeah, yeah, 30% are really, really bored people who have nothing better to do but fill out surveys. So you're right. A lot of people, if you say, "Are you interested in buying this product?" They'll say yes to that. When you put the product on the market, your sales numbers aren't going to match.
very cool. Well, we're up on time here, Jason. Thanks for coming in.
This has been a lot of fun.
Great to meet you. Great to have this conversation. You'll be down at CardCon.
May 6th through 8th, Fort Lauderdale, hardconexpo.com.
If I'm there, I'm gonna put it on social media. I'm highly considering it. I just haven't finalized my plans, but well, thanks again for the time, and we'll talk again soon.
Alrighty.